The sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky painted in shades of bruised purple and soft fading gold. In the quiet corner of your room, a single oil lamp flickers, its tiny flame dancing against the encroaching shadows. You sit there, holding a breath you did not realize you were keeping, your shoulders heavy with the unspoken weight of 100 worries. Your mind is a turbulent ocean, tossing and turning with questions that have no answers, with memories that sting, and an anxiety about a tomorrow that has not yet arrived. In this very moment of exhaustion, when you feel entirely unseen and alone, close your eyes for a brief second. Listen, not with your ears, but with the quiet spaces of your heart. A gentle, soothing whisper begins to rise from the silence. It does not come from the outside. It emerges from the deepest sanctuary of your own being, warm as a father's embrace, reassuring as an ancient, eternal promise. A divine voice breathes into your weariness. My dear child, I see you. I have seen the tears you wiped away in secret when the world expected you to smile. I have felt the silent ache in your chest when those you loved walked away, leaving behind a hollow silence. You have run so fast, fought so hard, and carried burdens that were never meant for your fragile shoulders. Sit with me for a moment. Let the world wait outside the door. Today, let us gently untie the knots that have bound your heart in sorrow. Listen closely, not to a sermon, but to the timeless song of your own soul. If you hear these truths today, the shadows that cloud your life will dissolve, and you will find a peace that no storm can ever take away. It is natural to feel tired. It is completely human to feel lost in the maze of life. This sacred pause you have taken today is not an accident. It is a calling. Your soul has guided you here because it is ready to heal, ready to remember its true nature, which is pure, eternal joy. Let us journey together through the 4 great corridors of wisdom, where the light of truth will quieten your restless mind and restore your spirit. The first secret, the burden of the unwritten tomorrow. Hear this first truth, my beloved seeker, and let it settle into your heart like a drop of honey on a parched tongue. He who carries the heavy weight of the future walks with wounded feet, but he who surrenders the outcome to the divine flies with wings of grace. Look at the mighty banyan tree standing at the edge of the quiet meadow. It does not hold onto its yellowing leaves with fear or desperation. When the autumn wind blows, the tree lets them fall, whispering a silent blessing to the earth that receives them. It does not stand bare in anxiety, wondering if the spring will ever return, or if new buds will find their way to its branches. It trusts the silent, invisible intelligence of the earth. It simply exists, rooted, peaceful, and majestic. Why then, dear soul, do you try to write the script of tomorrow with the ink of your anxiety today? Let me tell you the story of a young sculptor named Devdutt, who lived in a quiet valley nestled between whispering hills. Devdutt was a man of extraordinary talent. His hands could breathe life into cold, lifeless stone. He was commissioned by the elders of his village to carve a magnificent pillar for the central temple, a pillar that would depict the journey of a soul returning home. Devdutt threw himself into the work with fierce passion, but as the days turned into months, a subtle poison began to seep into his devotion. He stopped enjoying the feel of the chisel in his hand. He no longer smiled when the stone chipped away to reveal a beautiful curve. Instead, his mind was constantly racing into the future. What if the elders do not find it beautiful? He would worry late into the night, staring at the ceiling. What if a traveler from the city laughs at my craft? What if the stone cracks at the very last moment, and my reputation is ruined forever? His hands, once steady and graceful, began to tremble with fear. One evening, as the silver moonlight bathed his workshop, his chisel slipped. A deep, jagged crack appeared across the face of the central figure he was carving. Devdutt fell to his knees, burying his face in his hands, weeping bitter tears of despair. He felt his life had lost all meaning. In that hour of darkness, a wandering monk, who walked with a staff and wore robes the color of the setting sun, stepped into the workshop. He did not offer words of pity. Instead, he sat down beside the weeping sculptor and gently placed a hand on his trembling shoulder. "Why do you weep, my son?" the monk asked, his voice like the soft rustle of dry leaves. "Look at what I have done," Devdutt cried. "I have ruined the pillar. My future is destroyed. All my efforts have gone to waste." The monk smiled, a gentle, luminous smile. He picked up a handful of the stone dust from the floor and let it slip through his fingers. Devdut, when you began carving this stone, did you do it because you loved the stone, or because you loved the praise you hoped to receive when it was finished? Devdut paused, his tears halting. I did it because when I carve, I feel a deep, sacred peace. I feel connected to something far greater than myself. Then you forgot the connection, the monk said softly. You stopped carving for the divine and began carving for the world. You took the burden of tomorrow, a tomorrow that does not exist, and placed it on your chisel. No wonder your hand trembled. The crack in the stone is not a tragedy, it is a message. It is telling you to let go of the temple elders, let go of the travelers, and let go of your own pride. Pick up your chisel again. This time, do not carve a pillar for the temple. Simply offer each stroke of your hammer as a prayer. Leave the beauty of the pillar to the one who created the stone. With a heart suddenly lightened, Devdut looked at the ruined sculpture. He realized he did not need to hide the crack. Instead, using his chisel, with newfound freedom and joy, he transformed the jagged crack into a beautiful, winding vine of wild ivy, clinging elegantly to the central figure. It became the most breathtaking, unique feature of the entire temple. Remember this, my precious one. Your anxiety is the chisel trembling in your hand. When you worry about the future, about your career, your children, your health, your security, you are trying to carry a weight that belongs to me. You are trying to walk a path that has not yet been paved. It is natural to plan. It is beautiful to strive. But the moment your effort robs you of your present peace, know that you have strayed from the path of devotion. Do your work with a loving heart. Put your best into every single day. And then, like Devdut, hand over the final design to me. If a crack appears in your plans, do not despair. I am the master sculptor. I know how to turn your deepest cracks into the most beautiful details of your destiny. Take a deep breath now. Let the tightness in your chest soften. Repeat within your mind, I do my best, and I leave the rest to the divine grace that holds the universe. Let us now walk deeper into the sacred forest of your mind, where another truth waits to heal a different, deeper pain. The second secret, the beautiful illusion of loss. Listen to the second whisper of the divine voice, comforting and profound. Nothing that truly belongs to your soul can ever be lost, and that which is temporary can never be held, no matter how tightly you close your fist. Think of the mighty river that flows down from the snowy peaks of the mountains. It winds through rocky gorges, tumbles over steep cliffs, and flows gently through fertile valleys. Along its journey, many things fall into its waters: golden leaves, broken branches, beautiful flowers, and even dirt. The river does not cling to the flowers, nor does it fight against the dirt. It keeps flowing, knowing that its true nature is not defined by what enters its waters or what leaves them. Its destination is the vast, infinite ocean, where all individual identities dissolve into eternal unity. But your heart, dear seeker, often acts like a child trying to hold water in its tiny palms. When a person, a position, a phase of life, or a material possession slips away, you feel shattered. You feel as though a part of your very existence has been torn from you. This pain is real, and I do not dismiss it. Your grief is sacred to me. But let me share a story of a gentle soul who learned to see through the illusion of loss. In a village near the banks of the sacred Yamuna lived a woman named Suhasini. She was a gentle, quiet soul whose life was centered around a small garden in her courtyard. In the center of this garden grew a magnificent parijat tree, the night-blooming jasmine. Suhasini loved this tree more than anything else in the world. Every evening, as the stars began to pierce the velvet sky, the tree would burst into thousands of tiny, star-like white flowers with vibrant orange stems. The air in her modest home would fill with an intoxicating, heavenly fragrance that felt like a direct blessing from the heavens. But every morning, as the first golden rays of the sun touched the earth, the parijat flowers would detonate their beauty and fall to the ground. The courtyard would be covered in a carpet of fallen blossoms. Initially, Suhasini would sit on her porch and weep. She would gather the fallen, bruised flowers in her hands, watching them wither in the daylight. Why must something so beautiful be so short-lived? She would complain to the wind. Why does the night give me such joy, only for the morning to steal it away? This garden brings me more sorrow than happiness, for I am constantly mourning what has fallen. One morning, an old gardener, whose face was lined with the deep wisdom of many seasons, walked past her gate. Seeing her weeping over the fallen blossoms, he stepped inside. He did not tell her to stop crying. Instead, he took a fallen flower from her palm, held it to his nose, and closed his eyes in deep appreciation. "Suhasini," the old man said gently, "why do you look only at the earth where the flowers have fallen? Look up at the branches. Do you see how clean, strong, and alive they are? The tree did not lose its flowers. It gave them away. It gave them to the earth to enrich the soil, and it gave its fragrance to the air you breathed all through the night." He looked into her tear-filled eyes and continued, "The fragrance you breathed in yesterday, did it disappear when the flower fell? No. It became a part of your breath, a part of your memory, a part of your soul. The flower is gone, but the essence of its beauty is now inside you. You cannot lose what has already become a part of your inner world. And as for the tree, it is already silently preparing the blossoms for tonight. Why mourn the vessel when the source of the beauty is eternal?" Suhasini looked at the branches of the Parijat tree, then at her own hands. She realized that her grief was born of her desire to own the flowers, rather than to experience them. From that day on, she stopped crying in the mornings. She would collect the fallen flowers with reverence, offer them to the local temple, and thank the tree for its nightly gift. She understood that some things are meant to be experienced, loved, and then set free. My beloved child, look back at your own life. Think of the things you thought you could not live without, which are no longer with you today. You survived their departure, did you not? And did they not leave behind lessons, strength, and a deeper capacity to love? People enter your life like seasons. Some come like the spring, bringing warmth and color, staying just long enough to help you blossom. Others come like the autumn, shaking loose the old, dead beliefs you have held onto for too long. None of them were meant to be owned. They were travelers on your path, just as you are a traveler on theirs. When someone walks away from your life, or when a chapter closes, do not hold on to the empty pages. Trust that their role in your story has been beautifully completed. Bless them, let them go, and keep your heart open for the new growth that is silently preparing to bloom in the fertile soil of your soul. Rest your heart in this understanding. Let the tension slip from your neck. Breathe out the pain of holding on, and breathe in the freedom of letting go. Now, let us turn our gaze to the third secret, which will heal the deepest loneliness that sometimes shadows your quietest hours. The third secret, the mirage of the seeking heart. Let this third truth wash over your spirit like a cool, gentle rain. You search for a drop of love in the dry wells of the world, unaware that within your own heart flows an infinite, self-replenishing ocean of divine love. Think of the golden musk deer that roams the high, misty altitudes of the Himalayas. In the spring, a strange, intoxicating, heavenly fragrance begins to drift through the mountain air. The deer is driven wild by this scent. It runs frantically over jagged rocks, leaps across dangerous crevices, and tears through thorny bushes, searching desperately for the source of this divine aroma. It exhausts itself, bleeding and panting, searching in every valley and under every stone. It does not know that the fragrance is not coming from the mountains, the wind, or the forest. The precious musk is located within its own navel. The source of the fragrance was always carrying it, inside its own body. You too are like that beautiful, restless deer. From the moment you are born, you seek validation, love, acceptance, and a sense of belonging from the people around you. You want someone to look at you and say, "You are enough, you are precious." When people fail to do this, because they are themselves broken, tired, and searching, you feel abandoned. You feel empty, as though you are a house with no lights on inside. Let me share the story of a man named Madhav, who lived on the banks of a wide, misty river that separated two bustling towns. Madhav was a ferryman. Day in and day out, he rowed his wooden boat back and forth, carrying merchants, students, soldiers, and families across the water. Madhav was a deeply lonely man. He had lost his family early in life, and his heart was hungry for connection. With every traveler who stepped into his boat, Madhav would try to strike up a conversation. He would share a warm smile, offer a helping hand, and hope that someone would stay behind, or invite him to join them, or simply ask him how his day was. But people were always in a hurry. They had places to reach, businesses to run, and families to return to. They would pay him their copper coins, offer a polite nod, and quickly disappear into the crowds on the shore. Every evening, as the mists rolled over the cold river, Madhav would tie his boat to the wooden post, sit on the damp steps of the ghat, and feel a profound, aching emptiness. "I carry thousands of people," he would whisper to the rising moon. "Yet no one carries me in their thoughts. I am a bridge that everyone crosses, but no one wants to stay on." One cold autumn evening, an old blind monk stepped into his boat. The monk carried no luggage, only a simple wooden flute tucked into his waistband. As Madhav began to row, the river grew rough under a sudden, biting wind. The boat tossed violently. Madhav strained against the oars, his muscles aching, his heart gripping with fear. But the blind monk sat perfectly still, a serene, beautiful smile on his weathered face. When they finally reached the other side, Madhav was exhausted, shivering, and emotionally drained. As the monk stepped out of the boat, he did not offer money. Instead, he reached out and touched Madhav's wet cheek. "You have a very strong arm, ferryman," the monk said, his voice carrying the deep resonance of a temple bell. "But your heart is rowing against a current far stronger than this river." Madhav's eyes filled with tears. "What do you mean, Holy Father?" The monk smiled. "You row your boat expecting the passengers to give you something more than just copper coins. You are looking for their warmth to heat your cold heart. But tell me, Madhav, if a man is thirsty, does he jump into a mirage in the desert? Or does he dig a well where the groundwater flows?" "I do not understand," Madhav whispered. "The love you are begging for from these busy travelers is like water in a mirage," the monk explained. "They cannot give you what they do not have themselves. They are as empty and scared as you are. Stop looking at their faces. Tonight, when you tie your boat, do not look at the dark shores. Sit in your boat, close your eyes, and listen to the river. The same water that tosses your boat also holds it up. The same divine breath that moves the wind is breathing inside your chest. You are never empty, Madhav. You are the river itself, carrying everyone with love, because the source of all love resides within you. Discover that, and you will never row in loneliness again." That night, Madhav did not look at the distant lights of the town. He sat in the middle of his quiet boat, closed his eyes, and listened to the steady, rhythmic breathing of his own chest. In that deep silence, he felt a sudden, overwhelming warmth. He realized that his life was beautiful, that his service of caring people was a sacred duty, and that he was being watched over by a presence far larger than any human companion. He picked up the wooden flute the monk had left behind on the wooden bench, and for the first time in his life, he played a melody. It was not a song of sorrow, but a sweet, soaring prayer of gratitude that echoed across the silent waters. "My beloved seeker, look at yourself through my eyes. You are not a fragment, you are not a mistake, and you do not need someone else's approval to be whole. The love you seek from others is merely a reflection of the love I have already poured into your soul. When you feel lonely, do not run to the world to fill the void. Sit quietly, turn your gaze inward, connect with me in the silence of your breath. I am the friend who never leaves. I am the parent who never judges. I am the beloved who loves you exactly as you are, with all your scars and imperfections. When you anchor your heart in my love, your dependency on the world's fragile validation will simply vanish. You will no longer beg for love. You will become a source of love for everyone who crosses your path. Breathe in this divine fullness. Let your heart expand. Feel the warm, protective light of my presence wrapping around you like a silken shawl. Let us now step onto the final threshold, where all your remaining struggles will dissolve into the supreme peace of surrender. The fourth secret, the sacred sanctuary of surrender. Listen now to the ultimate truth, the secret that turns every battle into a victory of peace. When you hand over the reins of your life to me, your struggles become my responsibility, and your peace becomes my eternal promise. Imagine a tiny, delicate bird perched on a slender, swaying branch of a tree during a raging storm. The wind howls, the rain beats down fiercely, and the branch bends so low it threatens to snap at any second. Yet, the little bird does not panic. It does not look at the churning sky with terror. It tucks its head under its wing and sleeps peacefully. Why? Is it because it trusts the fragile branch to protect it? No. It is because the bird knows it has wings. It knows that even if the branch breaks, it can fly. It trusts the air that holds its wings. Your faith, dear soul, should be like the wings of that little bird. You try to control everything in your life. You try to manage your circumstances, your finances, your relationships, and your future, as if the entire weight of the world rests solely on your shoulders. You worry because you feel that if you let go, even for a moment, everything will fall apart. This constant vigilance is exhausting. It is what keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the dark ceiling with a racing heart. But tell me, did you control the beating of your heart today? Did you manage the rotation of the earth that brought you the morning sun? Did you direct the lungs that drew in breath while you were deep in sleep? If the grand, infinite universe is running so perfectly without your intervention, why do you think your life will fall apart if you surrender your worries to the divine? Let me share a final story of a man named Kalyan, who lived in a kingdom bordered by thick, dark forests. Kalyan was appointed by the king to be the sole watchman of the royal granary. It was a position of immense responsibility, for the food stored in that granary was the only survival reserve for the entire kingdom in times of drought. Kalyan was a deeply dutiful man, but his sense of duty turned into an obsession. He became convinced that if he slept for even an hour, thieves would break in, or mice would ruin the grain, and the kingdom would starve. He stopped going home. He stopped sleeping. He would pace around the massive wooden doors of the granary day and night, clutching his spear, his eyes bloodshot, his body trembling with sheer exhaustion. Months passed, and Kalyan's health began to fail. He looked like a ghost, his mind clouded by hallucinations born of sleep deprivation. Yet, he refused to let anyone else guard the gate, trusting no one. One stormy night, as the rain poured in torrents and thunder shook the earth, Kalyan stood shivering under the small awning of the gate, barely able to keep his eyes open. His spear felt heavier than a lead mountain. Through the curtain of rain, a tall stranger wrapped in a dark blue blanket approached the gate. The stranger had eyes that shone like stars, and a smile that seemed to contain the warmth of 1,000 fires. "You look very tired, watchman," the stranger said, standing beside him. "I cannot rest," Kalyan muttered, his voice cracking with exhaustion. "If I sleep, the granary will be ruined. The kingdom will perish. The burden is mine alone." The stranger gently took the heavy iron spear from Kalyan's trembling hand. "My friend," the stranger said softly, "the king who built this granary has thousands of soldiers, a vast army, and a wisdom that spans generations. Do you truly believe he would let his entire kingdom's survival depend solely on your sleepless eyes? You are not guarding the granary. Your pride is guarding your fear. Go inside. Lie down on the dry straw. Let me hold the spear tonight." "But who are you?" Kalyan asked, his resistance crumbling under the strange magnetic peace radiating from the stranger. "I am the one who watches over the watchman," the stranger replied with a gentle smile. "Sleep now. I promise you, not a single grain will be lost." Kalyan could fight his exhaustion no longer. He stepped inside, collapsed onto the soft, fragrant pile of straw, and fell into the deepest, most peaceful sleep of his life. He did not wake up for a full day and night. When he finally opened his eyes, the storm had passed. The golden morning sun was streaming through the high windows of the granary, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. He jumped up in sudden panic, remembering his duty. He ran to the gate. The stranger was gone, but his iron spear was resting neatly against the wooden door, polished and shining. Beside it lay a small piece of parchment. On it, written in elegant, luminous letters, were the words, "I have been watching over this kingdom long before you were born, Kalyan, and I will watch over it long after you are gone. Your duty is to serve with love, not to suffer with worry. Rest your heart, for you are always protected." From that day on, Kalyan guarded the granary with joy, not fear. He slept when it was time to sleep, and he worked when it was time to work, knowing that he was never alone at the gate. My beloved child, let down your spear. You have been standing guard over your life for far too long, shivering in the storm of your own anxieties. You do not have to carry this burden alone. When I say surrender to me, I do not mean you should stop doing your work. I mean you should surrender the fear of the outcome. I mean you should trust that whatever happens, I will hold you. If you face a mountain, I will give you the strength to climb it. If you face a valley of darkness, I will be the light that guides your steps. When you surrender, you stop fighting against life, and you start flowing with it. You realize that even your struggles are designed to make you stronger, to polish your soul, and to bring you closer to me. The return to peace. Let these 4 secrets settle deep into your consciousness. Feel them gently dissolving the tightness in your forehead, the heaviness in your chest, and the restlessness in your mind. The world outside your room has not changed, but you have. You are no longer the weary, anxious traveler who sat down to listen. You are a soul awakened to its own eternal strength, anchored in divine love, and sheltered under the canopy of grace. The next time the storm of life rages around you, remember the little bird on the swaying branch. Remember the parijat tree that lets its flowers fall without a tear. Remember the ferryman who found the music within his own chest. And remember Kalyan, who learned to let the divine watch over his soul. You are never alone. I am closer to you than your very breath. Every step you take, I walk beside you. Every tear you shed, I hold in the palm of my hand. Go forward into your life now with a light heart and a serene smile. Share this warmth, this peace, and this light with those you meet. For there are many weary souls still standing in the dark, waiting for a gentle hand to guide them home. Walk in peace, my dear child. All is well. All has always been well.